Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to pre-order upcoming FoW sets, ccgprime.com for singles and supplies, cardodoko.com for those rulers in the international market looking for product, and to our guest lecturer members, Vite Ramen. Class is in session. Hey there, rulers. Welcome back after a long week of FoW to your favorite ever live FoW podcast. It's Office Hours, featuring myself, TMO73, and I'm joined by my good buddy, Mike Rance.
Top of the morning, evening to you laddies. Happy St. Paddy's Day.
Sure. We are here. My green for St. Patrick's Day is that my lights will sometimes turn green, so I'm covered. I'm good.
Everybody pitch Jeremy.
You can't do it. Can't find me. You don't know where I'm at. We're just the two of us today. We're rocking it out. Kind of the OGs here, because Paul is out sick today. But we did get a new video today from the company, if you haven't already watched it. So we got some stuff to talk about. And we'll also just leave it open to whatever Mike wants to talk about today, which is maybe a mistake, but I'm gonna accept it. So we did get the news about the next set of Trinity Cluster, 10 Oaths of Protpaterpolis War. So we're going back to the world of Trinity Cluster, seeing what's kind of coming down after that big fight. After the timeless eclipse and everything else. And so we got some cool details of what's coming. Never a mistake to trust Mike, probably. I don't know. So we got some cool stuff. So we'll go over some details here. We got the poster, which is clearly Hachusika with Giotto. Hachusika is becoming the queen. And we know that from the video today because she was named Queen Hachusika in the video. So Giotto's axed. Alex clearly doesn't want to be queen, I guess. She just wants to go right off into the sunset with Bianchi, I guess. And so Hachusika is going to take over and call it there. But I do want to bring up the description of the set here, because we have that from the cell sheet as well. So Alex and Stazaki have achieved the impossible, preventing the kingdoms from plunging into an all-out war. Good job, guys. A peace treaty's been signed by everybody surrounding the sacred ruins, and yet war has begun. Whoops, too bad. We thought we didn't break it, but we did. Gil Lapis shows up. He does not come alone. He's got Ashwin, the commander of Darkest Fires, Sylvia, the blade of the primogenitor, and Blazer Gorapis, who does not get a title. He's just Blazer. Get wrecked, clown boy.
Always, yeah.
Behind them, an army of cryptids spreads like an unstoppable plague, but it's only the beginning. Two unexpected allies have joined them. Thoth, a god wielding the power of Sandora, which is where the high god Adam existed, and that got devoured by Nyarlathotep in the original timeline. So clearly what seems to be happening lore-wise is because Nyarlathotep never found her way to that planet and that world and consumed Adam, something else has happened here, and Thoth has kind of joined up with Galapis.
Seems like a paradox of sorts here, Jeremy.
Crazy. Commanding the undead hordes of the sand, and the ultimate calamity, Helen, the witch of the forgotten memories. So we don't have the time-spinning witch, we just have Helen, the other big, bad, scary witch lady. Sensing some weird parallels in these two timelines, is that there's some kind of big, bad, scary witch. The first witch war of Protpaterpolis, who disappeared a long time ago, with the entire world at the brink of destruction. Its fate hangs by a thread. The Coalition, Academy City, Hanada Group, and the three kingdoms of the underworld, Light Castle, Federation, the Forest of Amansul, must unite under a single banner. Lucy, Laika, Alex, Goliath, Hachusika, Moonglow, Virgil, Yigsei, Utsunes, and Echo, and even Wu Sha Wu, who has to finally uncover whether he is truly just a cat. It's just so funny. Before the end, 10 oaths will be sworn that share the fate of the Italian world. In one snap, the final battle between light and darkness is about to begin. Who will emerge victorious? The war is here. It's time to pick a side. Fourth and last set of Trinity Cluster. It's going to have 4 familiar characters as rulers. Queen Hachusika, Robomeda, Ashwin, and Helen are all going to come in as rulers. We do know that the 5th ruler of this set is a printing of Red Black Gilapis, but he's going to be in the the Memoria pack. We found that out from the video today. So he won't be in packs of the cards themselves, but Gilapis is kind of like accounting for there being a 5th ruler, which I think is kind of weird since he was just in Masterpiece too, but like, go off, King. Like,
I want more support.
I don't think he's going to get more support. I mean, if anything, it's like Ashwin who will be carrying the support, but there's a world where they probably want people to be able to, if they weren't able to pick up Masterpiece 2, pair up Gilapis and Ashwin easily enough, right? So they'll
You
just
think
like,
we're going to also be getting the extension rule in this set too?
probably not the same extension rule, but like that, maybe not. But like we'll go over the set breakdown here in a minute too. We are getting 2 more extension rules for this set, so I'm very curious to see what that brings as well. Let's see here. New stuff, let's go. Yeah, maybe tags with Ashwin. Very possible. We don't have any description. Like the previous few cell sheets have given us like several different mechanics. At least the names of them. This one we're just getting Oath, whatever that means.
I've got a tinfoil hat theory for this one. If
I'm
you
ready
want
for it, buddy.
I was about to say, you got no Paul to discuss this with. You're just talking about things that were said in the video, and I have nothing to add to it because I watched the video once. And
I'm ready for your tinfoil
right
hat, man. This is why I brought you on.
I feel like Oath might be devotion from Magic.
Ooh, okay.
We've never had something that really. We've never had a mechanic in this game that cared about how many symbols were in the will cost of something.
Sure.
And the symbols that are in the will cost of something don't matter because we have 8 billion 5-color stones right now. So everything is basically just whatever. But imagine like actually something that cares about that.
Yeah.
Like that seems pretty cool to me.
That would be very cool, right? One way to express determination to win the war through the cards. So the time has come to pick a side and join the final war in the Trinity cluster world, a force of will. So yeah, that'd be kind of cool, making a devotion style mechanic for sure. We did get to see a few things here. We saw a few examples. They're very blurry on the cell sheet, but we've seen some examples of some cards. Again, this is very blurry. There's an Alex Sansta card here. We also saw some artwork that was spoiled in the video, which I will go over here now. You get to see Lucy and Leica kind of holding hands, because we know that there's going to be a final Leica form. And they did say in the cell sheet that they're going to use this set to support every single ruler, or sorry, I'm not going to get ahead of myself and say that they said they would support every single ruler. They just said set 4s will support rulers from throughout the cluster. Sorry, 18. Probably not getting any support, 18. We love you, buddy, but maybe I'm wrong.
Not so soon.
God, so soon. So there's that artwork. We got to see this artwork of the 4 rulers, which is the Hachusika, Robomeda, looks freaking sick, Ashwin, and then Helen, which is just snake witch mommy, I guess. So we all know which ruler Mike would play automatically because it's just snake witch.
This is like not even. This is literally not even like a contest.
Yeah, it's not hard.
Like I can feel like myself and Steven Jesway like thinking about how to brew this mommy character, and I haven't played this game in like 3 years. So like, if this picture has me brewing,
yeah, for
come
sure.
on.
So we'll have to see what her mechanics are driven, obviously, and then what kind of the new support. We also got to see Woo Sha Woo, ready to yell at people as a cat. He's in his little Giotto outfit, and he's like, I'm here. In the artwork, he's hanging out with Hugh, so it looks pretty good. 18 is also the only member of the coalition not in the round table art in the video. Yeah. 18 was like, you got it. Bye. Showed up for 2 seconds and then was like, see ya. Back to being a doctor. He's in the medic tent. So we're just going to let that happen. Let's see. I have a breakdown of the set here. Pulling that up just so we can kind of talk about the breakdown of what's in the set. Here we go. So it's 100 cards again. We have 41 normals, 26 rares, 20 supers, 5 marvels, 4 rulers, 1 J ruler, which will be just the new form of Leica. Pretty clearly, that's what it's been. 1 new sub ruler rare and 2 new XRs. And then always there's going to be the 4 secret cards and 2 special secret cards. So that is interesting to me, the 2 special secrets, because those are supposed to be like we're going back to hyper uber god packs, unlike what we had in Masterpiece 2. So that's interesting. And then of course the box topper pack will have an uber of one of the marvels or super rares. Like that'll be how that works if it's anything else there. Wu as the next sub ruler, maybe. I could see a Wu Zhao Wu extension rule, to be honest. Does that make I could see something for him that's an extension rule.
Maybe something that makes him able to be played.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something to me about. We've talked before about what would it take to make Wu playable, and it's always been about giving him ways to manipulate the number of stones your opponent has without requiring them to actually have stones. Right? Like that's kind of always been the kicker. And so there's this idea in me about like you could make an extension rule that like always essentially considers your opponent as having X plus 1 magic stones, where X is the number of magic stones they control. Right? So if your opponent only has 0 magic stones, they're still considered as having 1 magic stone. Right? Like that's a simple, easy fix that could suddenly make Wu Zhao Wu very playable. Wu adds cats to all your rulers' races. That could be a thing. Yeah, so like, I don't know. Wu Zhao Wu tribal deck, let's go. Like, that's the other thing too, is could also make it so that, I don't know, to be able to play every single Wu Zhao Wu, right? Or something like that. Because if Wu Zhao Wu got Wu Zhao Wu in a power suit, and had a way to play it, then like, oh, okay, that's pretty good. Like he certainly has some capability there. It's just a matter like there's always something a little bit lacking in Wu Zhao Wu that I think they could easily update through like an extension role. I don't know. There's just something about it that feels like that's a good space to explore. Yeah, and you don't want to give him another sub ruler because he already has the AAA sub ruler, right? So like if you had a way to give him like a Wu Zhao Wu the ruler, AAA the sub ruler, plus an extension rule, then I'm like, okay, then there's like a whole suite, and then suddenly it like feels more complete. And it's really not. It wouldn't be that hard, I don't think. But we're tinfoil hatting it, so we'll see.
What I'm here for.
Yeah. You can see Wu as another sub ruler for another ruler. Nah, I want him to take center stage. Like I want him to like be good. Like I want him to be something you can play by himself. What do you think the last beast form of Leica is going to be? Because we've had bunny, we've had a rabbit, bird, rabbit, wolf, bear, bird, spider, snake, tiger. So like
Dark Leica.
Just dark Leica.
No, I said Shark Leica.
Shark Leica. See, but we've had her as a blue red, a white red, and a dark red at this point in time. So the only color combo we haven't seen yet is green red. Now, I'm tinfoil hatting it as well. In the lore of the game. She has transformed into a crocodile. She has transformed into an elephant. Those things have been transported into. And I will say, I do not think her last form is one of those, because in the like build up, they're saying this is her, like, she has discovered the power of a final form, which means it's not something she's done before. Right? So probably not an elephant, probably not a crocodile. Dragon form, maybe. Elemental spirit Leica with her connection to Lucy, also possibility. God
Book
form,
Leica.
God form between Horned God and Itsune's. That's very possible.
I like Book Leica.
I said this on the Discord earlier. My like magical Christmas fairy tale land is that Lilius Petal, who has ascended to godhood, shows up and helps her become chimera morphed, because he's always worked on the like manipulation and creation of mythical beasts with combinations and stuff, which feels very in line with what Leica does with her magic. And we know that what that Lapis is like ascendant. So, or we know that Lilius Petal's ascendant. So I'm also like, chimera morphed. That'd be pretty sick. Like, I don't know. That demon form starts mixing the previous forms. So yeah, like a chimera. Yeah, I just think that would be awesome. I always would love Lilius Petal to show back up. I was just like, it's fine. It's great. Fuse her with chubby five-tailed fox. Get Tony on field, Theory on morphing. Let's go.
Long Leica.
Long Leica.
That'd be terrible.
Lyco goes witch form, maybe? I don't think so. I'm really curious to see what Lucy's like new support is. That has me very curious.
Ooh, Jeremy.
I'm listening.
What about a Cthulhu form?
Ooh, interesting. I think Alex is kind of already leaning into that a little bit with like becoming Throm and stuff.
Yeah, because I'm thinking back to like one of the most relevant red-green rulers we've had, who also happened to be
Predator. Yeah, with Cthulhu and Gila. Maybe.
Or dinosaur form.
Dinos.
Dino Leica.
Tom.
Num 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 num.
That would be cool. You know, people are saying that they want Gandinia to get support, and I'm like, she got her head blown off by a shotgun. Don't really feel like she coming back.
And also, like, how do you support bondage.deck? Like, come on.
Utsunes could certainly get some support pretty easily, I think. Like I'm trying, like obviously Helen, OG Helen will get remnants of the rune finally. So there's something to be said about maybe Helen's new rulers stuff, like overlaps her with Helen like set 1 stuff. Like that's the interesting thing to me about this set is that like you can already see how there's very easy overlap with previous rulers from the set. Right? Like Helen's connected to Helen, Leica's connected to Lucy and Leica, Robometa is connected to like any of the Goliath stuff or Yokoshima. Helen also connects back to Lehen. You could have Hachusika combined with like already kind of flavors back to stuff for potential for Giotto or Moonglow or Alex. Like, the only one who really doesn't have a like earlier in the set counterpart is Ashwin, but also like maybe there's something there for Viola because of like trying to serve Gil Lapis as opposed to Gil Alhamat. So that's another like Wordle to go to. So I don't know. I like this idea that it feels like because these 4 characters aren't just out of the blue new characters. It does set this set up well to be able to actually support, and it's only 4 rulers. It does set it up to be able to support the full cluster nicely. We'll just have to see exactly how that gets executed. We got Gloria's support despite her being dead in the Paradox timeline. I mean, Masterpiece is kind of different.
Masterpiece isn't canon.
Yeah. And then she was able to rebuild her head. Also, the lore strat, she dead. Yeah, for sure. They are sitting at the table of the Sacred Knights, which she has. So okay, if that's where they were sitting when that picture, for sure. You feel Lilius would stay out of mortal affairs unless he has to. I mean, Gil Lapis is a pretty big threat. Like,
yeah, I'd call that a little bit above immortal affairs.
Yeah. I don't know. There's Lilius Petal might be like, maybe not. Like, he's come out of hiding for less. Like, Crucible Est told him to show up, but he did show up, for less. So I don't know. Gil Lapis will be defeated by the power of friendship and this cat I found. We have Long Wu Zhao, Long Tony, and Long Wu Zhao.
We've had Long Tony. We've had Long Tony and Wu Zhao who for
2 minutes, but if Gil Lapis tries to do anything, I will kill every single one of his cryptids.
And then myself. Final battle yourself.
That's very funny. So I do want to talk, Mike, about just in general the idea of set design. They talked about how
I like set design.
It's their intent here with set 4s or final sets of cluster to moving forward, especially to try to make to try to make finals. Nah, you're good. Final sets of a cluster to be full set, like full cluster support sets. This is in kind of what they tried to do with MOA, in a sense, but like way back in the day. But or like Epic Echoes of the New World was very similar, kinda. Yep. Right, they've done this kind of thing before, slightly.
I would say less Echoes, more Winds of the Ominous Moon.
Yeah, Winds of the Ominous Moon was also very seasoned. Yeah, for sure. So, with that being said, and the rulers that they've picked, how do you think they're, like, just surface level? What's the vibes about? Do you think this is like headed towards being a possible success? Like, do you think they're setting themselves up for success? Like, what's the vibe?
Yeah, I think it's a really good strategy. I think the only caveat I put on this strat is that, like, I think Winds of the Ominous Moon did a really good job. Like, I'm going to compare it to that because it's a very, very similar case. I think Winds did it really well, just also because the rulers themselves evolved throughout the cluster too, and there was more reason for there to be that support at the end. I'm a huge fan of just support for a ruler being spread out throughout a cluster, like especially for going to these like kind of smaller clusters again.
Yeah,
the big thing that I like to see is like maybe the new ruler gets like this support, but then there's like one support card for the ruler from the previous set. I think that the idea of having it all in the end of the cluster is good, because obviously it's just kind of like a last hurrah for everybody, and it's almost like, gonna compare it again to Winds of the Ominous Moon, but it felt like an epilogue. Like that was the coolest part, because there's also a lot of 2-color stuff at the end of the set. It was like multifaceted in terms of what that kind of experience was.
Yeah.
So with this, it's like I would like to see that same epilogue, but also the fact that they're choosing certain rulers to make these for based off of where they're at in like the lore. That's one of my only caveats with it, just because we're gonna go back to Gandinia. Gandinia got shotgunned by a cat. Oops, no more support for you. You get sanctioned off to this one set. Like, what they could potentially do is like the aftermath of her death and how it like affects her mansion and the like all the servants in that mansion. Again, very similar to like Light Palace, the way that was a
Mm-hmm.
card that tied together the story, tied together
Right.
the epilogue of like very flavorful.
Right.
So
And they're just
I
certainly
think if they,
there is certainly a way for them to still do that, especially since they're only doing it as 4 rulers, right? There's
yeah,
naturally like fewer rulers that have core engines that they need to support. And based on the mechanics of these core rulers, the building blocks of their base mechanics might already exist in the cluster, right? Like if Ashwin builds upon Gil Lapis's support, then she might not actually need to take up that much of the set because of the stuff from Masterpiece 2, right? It's the same with Hachusika. Like if Hachusika builds on the ambush mechanic or the solo mode tank stuff that Giotto already had, then like she's already there, right? If Robomeda already kind of works with build or demolish, then he's like again he's kind of already there. Like there's a very like this is very interesting to me because it'll be really dependent on how much new these 4 rulers are bringing to the table, right?
that's
As
actually
opposed to
I wanted to kind of touch on that. I'm really glad you brought that up, Jeremy,
yeah,
because one of the appreciate that Alejandro never ever underestimated, which is very
yeah,
fun. Anyway, besides the point, I think what you're saying is really hitting the nail on the head. You can always have support for old rulers if the mechanics of the new rulers build on or riff on the same design
right.
space. However, the way that Force Will designs right now, the way that I Spy designs and everything along those lines, is that they design each ruler to be very, very unique and distinct.
Mm-hmm.
Even within the same cluster, there's no overarching theme between those rulers in the cluster
Which is very Lapis
for the most
Cluster. I
part.
mean, Lapis Cluster was very much
Yeah,
like that, right? Like
agreed.
like Grim doesn't
Except
have
for
anything to.
Resonance. Resonance, I think, was
Sure,
such
sure,
a
sure, sure.
good tie-in.
There was an overlap, but like, even back to Grim, right? Grim had nothing to do with Bahamut, had nothing to do with Abdul, had nothing to do with and like those kinds of things. So like, this is not predicated like like it's not necessarily like oh they just started doing this. It is certainly there. I think what's interesting here is because of these 4 rulers, because of these 4 character choices, there's very much a possibility of almost like a passing the torch on a
Mhm.
mechanical concept to a new ruler, as opposed to this is something brand new, right? Which does set this set up, I think, to be very easy to then backwards compatible, essentially, the support,
Exactly.
right? Which I think will be
That's
very
that's
cool.
like the best way I could. That's the best way I could put it too. It literally it feels like that kind of like backwards compatibility. It feels like that kind of like I really wish I could play my Game Boy games on my Switch, but no, I got to buy a whole new thing in the shop for the Switch, and it's like that's them's the breaks, pal. But like that's kind of it. It's also the same reason that Force of Will's draft format isn't really designed to be that great.
Right.
Like obviously you can play draft. Like there's no sense not playing it. Like the pre-release draft is great. But like if you're really trying to draft a set, you need to have that kind of overarching theme within the cluster. Otherwise the sets just will not mesh. And you're either only drafting from one set or you're drafting from like 3 different sets and you have to build around like
Yeah,
one ruler
interestingly
and
enough, the funny
find
thing
shit.
was when sets were first being when we had draft, the old floor rules used to say like based on where you're at in the cluster, draft these types of packs, right? It used to be
Yeah.
pretty prescriptive, and we've kind of moved away from that. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of comes out of that and try that again. Maybe try to do like a Trinity cluster draft kind of a thing, which I think would be
Mhm.
kind of neat. Um, but yeah, like there's a very real easy handoff to make with these characters that we could see. And the other thing I think that gives me hope of that is that it didn't talk about a whole bunch of new mechanics on the cell sheet. It like just
Yeah.
talked about Oath, right?
Which we have
Like
no idea what it's going to be,
but
but
like the cell sheet for T3 teased up depths, ambush, phobias. Like it teased up all of the new concepts. And so it's like, oh, they're not teasing up all these new concepts. This means that we
but
might
the
we might
and
see that
the
kind of
fact that like
handoff.
Oath And the fact that Oath is the one that's being focused on in that makes me think it might be something that is spread across multiple rulers, or at least has some
Yeah.
more general usage, which is why I'm thinking, like, my brain is telling me that everything's coming together to say we're just doing a Theros, which would be great because devotion is like
it would be
such a
very.
good mechanic.
Brant brings up an interesting point here. Maybe every cluster ruler gets at least a 10 oaths card. Well, they could pick the 10 rulers and say each of these rulers gets an oath, right? So like Lucy gets an oath that like supernaturally like superpowers up her playing the spirit package, right? So like by really leaning into her mechanic, she gets this additional support. Or Mi Sung gets an oath for the monks, so like they really lean into the monk. Like that's a very easy way to take up a tiny slot of the set design to almost like give every single archetype a like injection of power because you're committed to the archetype, right? Like you said with devotion, right? So very possible there. So I'm very curious to see how that plays out too, and we'll find out eventually.
Yeah, because I am a sucker for mechanics that are spread across multiple rulers from a flavor and from a gameplay perspective. Like,
yeah,
I'll go back to resonance on this. Like, resonance was not a specific keyword for any given ruler. Like, Persia used it best because all of her stuff was just get a stone, kill a stone, get a stone, kill a stone. But like,
yeah.
Alhamat had resonance. Like, most of the support for any of the other cards had resonance. It's like the mechanic was built on just being something that would happen naturally, and that's kind of where the oath aspect comes into it.
Yeah, for sure. Very possible. Very possible. I do want to spend a little bit of time and say that I have been building and playing a bunch of different rulers for Masterpiece 2. So far, I have played Millium, Wukong, Fox, Adelbert, Val 3.
You're playing Fox?
Yeah, crazy. Wow. I'm working on Adelbert, or I'm working on Alhamat and the books right now. And I gotta say, I'm really enjoying every single one. I think they're super fun. I've had a really great time. Even the ones that I've played against, I haven't been able to personally build a Guild Giotto, but I've played against Guild Giotto. And like even playing against that was fun. Like I had a good time. It was cool to see. Ashwin is a really good card. Like crazy how good that card is. Feels like a marvel, is a marvel, deserving of being a ruler very quickly as a character. Because whoo boy, do you feel it. But I've really enjoyed it. We're building. Having to build masterpiece sets are always like the most challenging part for the channel because we have 3 months to build 25 decks and get them all recorded. Is a lot. Thankfully, there's some overlap with like the Milliums get to pair up, Gloria Charlotte get to pair up, Lulu gets to pair up, the books get to pair up. So like we have a little bit of a nicer time. Masterpiece 1 was even harder because it was like, well, anyone can tag with anyone. So it's like, oh crap, how do we cover all of that? Like, what do we do? There's so many permutations. This one feels a little bit more prescribed, which is helpful. But they have been really fun. I've really enjoyed playing all of them.
I like infinite permutations.
Yeah, for sure. That's a deck every 4 days.
Give me more.
Yeah, we have to build them. We're trying to get stuff recorded as fast as we can for people to show, our initial kind of ideas. This set, 10 Oaths, goes on sale May 30th, which is a week after the Minnesota GP and a week before FoW Fest.
Hooray!
So the FoW Fest will literally be a week post-release. So
FoW Fest is literally going to be Wild West.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. There's no promises. Absolutely no promises. I am going to see if I can flex some influence to say like, hey, maybe we drop the ban list for 10 Oaths a few days early rather than set release day, just to maybe give people a little bit more time to prep for FoW Fest if they can help it. Can't promise anything from there, but I'm certainly going to try. So we'll see. FoW Fest will be the 10 Oaths GP. For sure. We'll see how the oaths influence the meta. And also it means that the Minnesota GP results will have no influence on FoWFest. So there you go. But at least it does mean that our first online and our first in-person GPs of this format are of this season are in the same format. So that's really nice, right? We do at least have two.
I feel like FoWFest is going to be really popular with horses.
Say that again.
FoWFest is going to be really popular with horses
because of the Wild West.
No, because of the 10 oats.
Oh gosh. See, I invited you on.
I didn't disappoint.
And you don't disappoint ever. Man doesn't miss. Man doesn't miss. Meta as an automaton ruler would be a neat callback to his Resonator card, since Robometa is a bit of an odd duck in Goliath's own list. Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's very easy ways for the support for these rulers to potentially overlap with older support stuff because of who the characters are, right? These are not just like Ruchiel's a great example. There was no way in hell that Ruchiel wasn't going to have a from the ground up kit on release, because no one knew who the hell Ruchiel was until set 3 existed, right? She had no presence, no concept of being in existence in Trinity Cluster until set 3 dropped. Robometa has existed since set 1 or set 2. Like, Robometa existed with set 2. And already even further back with Yokoshima in set 1. Right? Like, they're like easy line through. Hachishika has a line back through to Alex, and has a line back through to Moonglow. Ashwin has a line through to Galapis, who has a line through to Viola. Helen has a line through to Lehen, to Helen, to like all the witches, to Lucy. Like, there's a line directly backwards that really sets this set up to be very good for backwards compatibility, and I really hope that's the case, which I think will be fun, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. So, Mike, what do you want to talk about?
Boy, let me tell you something, buddy. I want to know everybody in chat's, for St. Patrick's Day, favorite wind ruler or green ruler.
Ooh, okay. It's Seal.
It's Seal?
Honestly, I really liked Seal. I think if they had changed her, I've said this before on the podcast, I think if they had changed the way her J-ruler mechanic worked by one sentence, she would have been incredibly competitively viable. Like, significantly. Like, the mechanic was cool. It felt very unique. It felt very powerful. It just got stopped by a single Lorite because of how they designed it. So I just like, underserved wind ruler is definitely like Seal. It's definitely my favorite.
Yeah, I'm always going to be on the OG Scheherazade train.
Sherry won.
I am personally Sherry won because I got a soft spot for the funniest deck I've ever heard of in my entire life. Literally the week after I started playing the game,
which is
where TTW had just launched, and I was playing against somebody who was playing Sherry, who searched through their stone deck, found a Blasting Waves, put it on top. I'm like, okay, whatever, sounds good. I'm playing against green red, drops a Flame Sprite, hits me for 2, and the next turn, Unyielding Flames of Moria, or is that the right one?
Yeah,
the one that makes your things deal more damage.
Yeah.
Okay, so there were 4 of those in there, but you never hit it turn 1, so it was never dead. And it was the funniest deck I've ever played against.
Yeah, that is funny. Flame Sprite got me my invite to Worlds once.
Flame Sprite was a house of a card, dude.
Yeah, man. We used it to win the Necrolance mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone was like,
oh, okay.
Way back in the day, to go back to everyone who's understanding, the Necrolance deck for Reflect Refrain, almost everyone was just like, well, you used Reflect to pump up Lancelot, and then had the Necromancy of the Undead Lord to pump up
Necromancy.
Necromancy of the Undead Lord to make it 1,000 attacks so it could ping something. But you couldn't do that on turn 1 because we didn't have Energize back then. So like it didn't really matter. So everyone tried to use the filter of Reflect Refrain a lot. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute. Flame Sprite's just a way better turn 1 option. We'll just swing at our opponent for 2 and then untap the Flame Sprite so we have something to ping. And it usually pretty much always won games because then you'd have Flame Sprite up to be able to ping something and Demon Flame it. And it's how I got my first invite to Worlds, was doing Flame Sprite Demon Flame shenanigans. So
yeah, I mean that's how you do it. That was the game plan. It's so funny because like that exact strategy was just like Gwen on 1, tap, draw 2, pitch the Necromancy, turn 2, Lancelot. And Billy Buttons is swinging away.
Yep. And then you saw your opponent play the turn 1 Gwen, and you were like, "That's cool." Flame's right.
Yeah. I'm also wondering. Okay, so here's a fun discussion. I want to get some opinions on this.
Mm-hmm.
There is a long-standing tradition of iconic combos in card games given pet names, in a sense. Forcible really doesn't have them outside of like Necrolance. Like Necrolance was easy just because it was like Necromancy, Lancelot. It just kind of worked. But if you think about like Magic the Gathering had a combination of words called Cawblade because you put a sword on a bird. Like that's what they got, and they made a name out of it. Like yeah, Barebow during CFC, that's a good one. Barebow is always a good one.
Barebow.
But we haven't really. What I want to know, why does the community not come up with
like we had like
nicknames?
altar loops, right? Like we playing like altar loops.
Sigurd altar, I guess.
Sig altar kind of stuff. Alice Yokais, right? Like Yokai Alice is another one with like Yokai Festival with Zeus Alice. We've had like a few.
But I feel like it's so few and far between compared to like the zeitgeist of other games, right?
Yeah. Right now, people are saying that Charlotte Glorious is just Mask. We just got Mask.
I mean, that's valid.
That's fair. That's fair.
Hang on, what? Wait.
Right now, I will say I will say one of them right now is people are just calling Lumia like Lulu. Right, we have the pet name for Lulu with Lumia Lunia. That's a new one. That's kind of come up recently. Vaccinated Cherry. I'm not really sure what that one is.
I want to know more about that one. Yeah, that's pretty good. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like
there's Bradlua. I mean, like the Killua control deck is kind of quintessentially referred to as Bradlua.
I like Johto Gill's GG. That's really funny, actually. Oh man. But yeah, no, because I was kind of thinking about this. Like, this is something I've thought about a few times.
Well, Mike's disconnected from reality. He'll be back in a second. Iron Man Turbo, that's true. 2-drop Falchion with Order Gnarly. Also, that is a valid one. Yep. We've had a few, right?
Am I back now?
You're back now. Yep, go for it.
All right, cool. I thought it was fine because I was on the 5G. Stupid.
Never assume.
I know.
Never
Big ass out of you and me.
Iron Man. If you missed Logan Moses said Iron Man Turbo, right? With 2-drop Falchion plus Order Gnarly, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've had a lot of loops in the game. Like, we just don't kind of quintessentially like give them pet names, which is funny for me because I have to name decks for the channel for feature matches all the time, and I'm just like, I don't know, color plus ruler. Like, you know, they're like back in the day, I used to be able to make up names a lot more often, but now I don't know. There is an element, you're right, where it's kind of like harder to come up with that kind of stuff sometimes.
You should come to me for this because I could come up with some bangers.
Like, well, I did. So here's the thing: if you watch the Millium feature match from last week, the feature match name here, I'll go to it because it's really funny. I guess this is me like caving to myself at the last second, is because
pay no attention to the screen in the background,
don't
everyone.
pay attention. So the feature match's name is just Riula Milliams is the name of the deck. But if you actually go watch it, the name of the deck on screen is Riula Can't Decide.
Yeah.
because it swaps back and forth between the two Milliams. So it's Riula Can't Decide.
That's bad, Jeremy. That's bad.
It's funny. It's really funny.
It's funny.
Like, it's funny to me. She's just like, oh no, who do I pick? The boy who saved me or the really handsome dragon boy who's the same person? Which one? I just think about it as like the manhwa of like the little dragon girl who's homerecord.deck. Yeah, there you go. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, for sure. Riula Can't Decide.
Man. I love it. See, yeah. This is the discussion I want. I want people coming up with some stupid bullshit like this.
Yeah, go to therapy. It's just the entirety of any time you play viola. It's just go to therapy. Touch grass.
Touch grass.
That's the name of the viola deck. Is go touch grass.
That's unbelievably good.
Go touch grass.
Do we have any grass cards? I want to make a viola deck that focuses on any card that mentions grass.
Yeah. There's some
No, it's all based off of Wetlands of Magic Origin.
Yeah, that's all. 100%.
Yeah, if only that card was good. Anyway.
Yeah, not so much. Not so much. I look forward to, we have, for those of you who kind of some house cleaning here as we get kind of to the end of it, is don't forget that in a couple weekends we have the first Discord Paradox event over at our server. It is the last chance to earn Prizewell points from us directly before FoW Fest. So you should go check that out. Hope to see people there, get some cool data and see what gets played there. It's where we're giving away the Skib display mat for top 8 for that one. So hope to see you come out for that one. Also, you can check out the information for FoW Fest down below. And housekeeping wise this week, tomorrow we will have the Milliams deck profiles, as well as Wednesday you will have a feature match between Severing Adelbert and GG Gil Giotto. So that's a fun one. And then we'll get caught up on feature matches from there. And then next week we'll continue onward. I'm trying to get Val 3 recorded. I'm trying to get books recorded. I'm trying to get Alhamot recorded. You got a lot to get through. Before the first GP online happening in April. So looking forward to that. Now you're trying hard to think of deck names. Yeah.
I think my favorite deck name I've ever came up with is a riff off of Unglued, where I just put our market research shows that people really like really long deck names. So I decided to make this deck name the longest deck name possible, and somebody had to type that into a computer.
Yeah. I think someone named their deck because Jeremy told me to once.
That's a good one. That's always a good one.
I seem to remember that. I think it might have been Holscheiser. You're here. Holscheiser, did you name a deck because Jeremy told me to once? I think that's the thing that happened.
Oh, no, wait. I remember when Joey was playing Gil in Raya Cluster.
There it is.
Joey named his deck Gilling in the name.
Gilling in the name of. Oh, good stuff. Good stuff.
Really good stuff.
Yeah. Game's great, man.
I love when people... The game is great. I love when the community just comes up with stupid bullshit and we get to riff on it.
Yeah, for sure. Next week, we are going to have a special guest on the podcast. We're going to have Lance Maverick back next week. And we are going to be talking all about Paradox format because he has been playing a whole bunch of Paradox format with his locals. And so Mike will also be very heavily involved in that conversation as a Paradox stan.
Love rotating formats.
So we will be back to kind of talk about that one next week. Looking forward to that. But I think we're going to call it here for the night. It's been great chatting with all of y'all and hanging out. Mike, thanks for joining as always. And until next time, this has been myself, DMO73, and I've been joined by Mike Rance.
Once again, enjoy your St. Patrick's Day, everyone.
Class dismissed, everybody.